Get comfortable. This is one of those stories you listen to late at night. Let me tell you a story. Monday morning arrived sharper than usual. The assistant stepped through the revolving doors with her usual calm composure. Tablet tucked neatly against her chest, heels clicking softly across the marble floor. To anyone watching, she looked exactly as she always did. Professional, focused, unbothered. But something in the air had shifted. Conversations hushed, a second too late when she passed. Eyes lingered a moment too long. Smiles felt thinner. She felt it without needing to see it. By the time she reached her desk, she already knew. Whatever talk he mentioned wasn't just talk anymore. Still, she sat down her bag, powered on her computer, and began her morning routine with practiced precision. Coffee delivered to his office at 8:30. Calendar confirmation sent. Meetings briefs organized. Control, structured, normalcy. She clung to them all. At exactly 8:28, she lifted the coffee tray and walked down the hall. When she entered his office, he was already standing by the window, sleeves rolled, tie slightly loosened, as if he'd been there a while waiting. He turned when she stepped in. "Good morning," she said smoothly. "Morning." His voice was even, but his eyes searched her face quickly, subtly, checking, always checking. She set the coffee on his desk and began arranging his files. "There's been a change," he said. Her hands paused for only a fraction of a second before continuing. "In the schedule. In perception." That made her look up. He exhaled slowly and moved behind his desk. Careful. Oh, sorry. He exhaled slowly and moved behind his desk, creating that careful, deliberate distance again. Always distant now. Two department heads requested to be copied on communications. That usually comes directly through you, he said, and HR asked for a routine review of reporting structures. Routine? Nothing about it felt routine. "I see," she said quietly. He watched her closely as if expecting hurt, or anger, or fear. She gave him none. Instead, she straightened a stack of papers and met his gaze calmly. "Then we'll adjust." Something in his expression shifted, something like pride mixed with frustration. "You shouldn't have to," he said. "But I can," she replied, "and I will." A beat of silence passed. Professional, composed, careful. It shouldn't have felt reassuring. Instead, it felt like staying on opposite sides of glass. By midweek, the office had settled into a new southern rhythm. Doors that used to be closed now stay open. Meetings that used to be one-on-one now include others. Emails became more formal, more structured, more distant. They were performing professionalism so perfectly it almost hurt. Almost. Because underneath it had changed. Underneath it, nothing had changed. If anything, the restraints made everything louder. A glance across a conference table could last half a second too long and still felt electric. Passing a folder from hand to hand without touching somehow felt more intimate than contact ever had. Every control interaction hummed with things unsaid, and people noticed tension, even when they didn't understand it. Late Thursday afternoon, she stepped into the break room to refill her water bottle. Two co-workers stood near the counter, talking in low voices. The conversation stopped the instant she entered. They smiled too brightly. "Long week," one of them asked. "It's been productive," she replied politely. The other gave a small knowing look. "I bet it has." She met the woman's gaze evenly, calm, unreadable. After a moment, they both looked away first. When she left the room, her grip on her water bottle tightened slightly, but her posture never faltered. That evening, as the office began to empty, he called her in for a final review of the next day's board presentation. The door remained open, always open now. She stood beside his desk as they went over the last details. both of them careful to keep their focus strictly on the documents between them. "Everything looks good," he said. "You cover every ankle." "I try to," she replied. Their shoulders were closer than they should have been, not touching, never touching, but close enough to feel warmth. He noticed. Of course he noticed. He stepped back first. "Thank you," he said, voice quieter. "For doing my job?" she asked lightly. "For making this easier than it should have been." He held his gaze, just for a moment. "Nothing about this is easy," she said softly. The honesty in it hung between them. Then footsteps passed in the hallway. Voices. Movement. They both shifted apart instantly. The moment dissolving before it could fully form. "I'll send the final version tonight," she said, returning to business. "Good," he replied. She turned to leave. As she stepped into the hallway, she didn't notice the figure at the far end, standing near the corner, partially exhibited by shadow and glass partition, watching, patient, interested. The same person who had watched before. This time, they didn't just smile. They pulled out a phone, typed a quick message, and hit send. Across the building, in a quiet office with the lights off, another phone buzzed on the desk. The screen lit up with a single line. "It's exactly what we thought. Just not proven that yet." Back in the hallway, the assistant walked towards the elevators, unaware that whatever fragile balance she had and her boss were trying to retain was already beginning to tilt. Because in an office like this, rumors weren't just the most dangerous thing. Timing was. And someone was very carefully choosing theirs. And that's where we'll leave the story for tonight. Until next time, sleep well.